Hello everyone. Today in this lecture we are going to learn one more illustration on the valuation of equity shares. So let's start with the question. Now the question says what should be the price of a common stock paying rupees 3.50 annually in dividends if the growth rate is 0 and the discount rate is 8%. So that means first of all we have to calculate the different dividends because we all know that in the equity shares we get the dividend and we get the dividend till infinity, that means till the life of a company. So first of all let me calculate the dividend at the end of year 1. So we have already learned the formula in the previous videos that our formula will be in year 1 whenever I have to calculate the dividend it will be D0 bracket 1 plus g. That means we have to add the growth rate to the previous dividend. Then only we are going to get the next year dividend. So it will be D0 1 plus g. My D0 is given to be 3.50 and growth rate is given to be 0. So that means what I have to do 3.50 bracket 1 plus g, growth rate is 0. So I have written 0.0. So my answer will be 3.50. Now let's calculate the dividend for the year 2. So now again I have to add D1 1 plus G. My D1 is 3.50. So that's what I have written 1 plus G. Again G is 0. So again my answer will come out to be 3.50. Now let's go with the similar way. We have to calculate the dividend for the year 3, year 4, year 5 and so on. So if I am going to calculate the dividend of every year and the growth rate is 0, that means I am going to get the same dividend throughout. So I can say I am getting the constant dividend. Now if I am going to put all these dividends on the number line, you will observe that at the end of year 1 you are getting dividend of 3.5. Again at the end of year 2 you are getting the dividend of 3.5. At the end of year 3, 3.5 and so on. So that means in the last year, that means till infinity also, your dividend will be 3.5 only. So I can say over here that my dividend is constant, or even I can say that this is the perpetuity question, because in perpetuity I am getting the constant amount throughout the life of the company. So I don't know till when I am going to get the dividend. So I can say this is a case of perpetuity. And if you are going to remember the perpetuity case, and in the perpetuity if I am going to calculate the present value, so P0 is equals to CF upon R. That means whatever cash flow we have calculated, cash flow divided by your rate of interest. So it will be CF upon R, and over here my CF is equals to 3.50. So I can write instead of CF it's 3.50 divided by R is discount rate means your R. So R is 0.08. So I can write 3.50 divided by 0.08. And if you are going to solve it, you are going to get the present price of the equity share. So this was the one way of doing the question. Now let's go with the another way of doing the question. Because sometimes I have seen that normally the students get confused that in this book the question is done by this method, now the question is done by this method. So there are various ways of doing the same question. So this is one of the way by doing the question. Now let's go with the formula based. Now since you all know that whenever we are talking about the formula and it's given that the dividend growth rate is 0, that means every year the growth rate is same. Every year you can see the growth rate is 0. So I can say that this is a question for constant growth rate. And if we are going to see the formula for constant growth rate, we all know the formula is P0 is equals to D1 upon KE minus G, or even you have learned the formula that if I have to calculate the KE will be KE is equals to D1 upon P0 plus G. I can write it by this method also. So it's up to you by which way you have to write. So it will be D1 upon P0 plus G. So it's the way that whatever way you want to write. So if we are going to solve it, it will be your D1 is given to be 3.5, K is 0.08 and your growth rate is 0. Now let's put all the values over here. It will be P0 is equals to 3.5 upon 0.08 minus 0. So we get the same thing, that is your cash flow divided by rate. So your answer will be rupees 43.75. So I can say that the current value of the equity share is rupees 43.75. So there is a question for you. Now you have to calculate what should be the price of a common stock which is paying rupees 9.48 semi-annually in dividends if the growth rate is 0 and the discount rate is 12.78%. Hope you have understood the question. For further questions, you can refer my book, Financial Management. Thank you.